Okay, hello, and welcome to Leadership as a Philosophy. I don't know what we're going to call this. I call this On Power, so I guess it'll be On Power 3. I don't know.
Sounds right.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I have to come up with something because
No.
if we're going to keep doing this, it should have a catchier title. So
Yeah, we can spice it up.
marketing is everything.
Yep.
So basically, what happened this time is when I talked to Seth about doing this, he said, "Hey, you pick the topic this time because I'm always picking, and I feel whatever." So he said, I want to talk about this quote that I did. So I'm going to let him read it, and then we're going to spend some time discussing it because one of the things that I thought was so hilarious is I've really wanted to come up with some pithy leadership quote. Really wanted to, I want to be known for saying something. And I've said a couple of times, said some cool quote and going, ha, this is the one. And then I go and find out that somebody else cool said it. He sends me this, and I said, man, who said that? Started looking nowhere. So he came up with something cool. So super happy.
You say it's
jealous.
Cool. You say it's cool.
Jealous, inferiority complex.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, this is the quote that he sent me, and this was after our last discussion because I guess he had some time to think. So proceed with your quote.
The quote is that a good leader is less caviar and instead more French fries. So the idea, the figurative nature behind it is that instead of trying to be an acquired taste, somebody who makes other people decide definitively either I hate this or I can deal with it, maybe even like it, it's somebody who appeals to the largest population possible. We know French fries are very universally liked. People, even in societies that don't really have much to do with them, when they taste them for the first time, tend to not spit them out, right? But as opposed to with caviar, it is either an acquired taste or it is something that you love to hate. And a leader who tries to be a caviar is someone who thinks that they're going to come in and people are either going to acclimate to me, they're either going to adjust the way that they do things in order to come to understand the way that I do things is more important than theirs, or they're going to get right out of here. I'm gonna run them right out of the building, and that's a very common theme that you'll find with people who lead with their ego. So the idea, a good leader instead of trying to be caviar, a good leader instead of trying to force people to either love them or just get out, is going to be somebody that's going to try to be all things to all people. I'm going to appeal to the most people I possibly can, no matter what their background is, their age, their experience, their likes and dislikes, their feeling towards the company that I represent. None of these things are going to keep me from possibly being able to win them over.
Well, that's a different perspective than I thought.
Good, I think.
No. Because so the quote is, like I said, I wanted you to read it. Great explanation. But the quote that he sent me was, a good leader is less caviar and more French fries. Leader is not an acquired taste or something most people don't find palatable. A leader is enjoyed by the vast majority of people and can adapt to a huge amount of variations in culture and tastes. Managers are caviar. Some people love, more people don't, and they can say, take it or leave it, this is who I am. So what you just said, though, is completely, well, I mean, I understood part of that, but you're basically saying that a leader is a self-conscious potato and can adapt itself to what somebody's tastes are.
Yes. Yeah, that's my intent behind it.
That is fascinating. That's even better. It's even cooler now that you explain it.
Yeah, a good leader comes in knowing that they are not the most important person in any situation, in any company, in any form of leadership. They know that they feel that other people matter just as much as them, and if not more. And so that allows them to be that lower class, easily overlooked potato, as opposed to the high end elite caviar that has an assumption that you're going to find a way to love this because it's classy, or you're going to move on.
So, yeah, so what I wrote down, so then I typed out some stuff because I wanted to, be able to banty this around. But that's even, I think that's even cooler.
I hope it's even cooler. That's
No,
nice if it's cooler.
no, I'm just saying
Yeah,
what you
good.
just explained is
Yeah.
even cooler, which makes me even more jealous. No, I'm just teasing. So what I wrote down was, so let's extrapolate this because he said French fries. I said, well, French fried is a fried potato, right? So there is some version of fried potato or cooked potato on every menu in every culture at every price point. So we were talking on Netflix, there was some show I watched and it was like El Bulli or whatever in Italy or Spain. And there was this, one of their main dishes is this little rectangle of potato with salt and pepper and it's cooked in, and it's in $20 for this little cute rectangle of potato. Or you go somewhere and, get a side of hash browns, this and this and the other thing. So a potato is completely versatile and adaptable, which is what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's got a different sort of taste to it. But your thing is really like, man, now you got me thinking even more. Good grief. This was supposed to be an easy one.
Nothing's easy with me.
No,
Everything's difficult.
So then I wrote down caviar is specialized in tense and inflexible, a pleasant addition, but too much of it spoils a dish, right? So you don't see anywhere that caviar is a main dish. It's a little spoon.
Right.
They take a few and put it on top of something, and it enhances. Too much of it, out of control. So management is like that, right?
Yeah.
A little management's great. Too much obliterates the dish. So then what I did is I changed the quote a little bit. But now what you're saying is just changes the whole perspective. So my rewrite of his thought before we talked about this was leaders are like fried potatoes, infinitely adaptable staples of every cuisine. Sometimes the star of the dish, what you were saying. Others aside, many times invisible and unnoticed, but providing cohesion. So, potato soup with bacon. You taste the bacon, but the potatoes got to be there. Managers like caviar servicing a specialized function. A small amount enhances the dish. Too much overpowers, why too little may be just the right amount.
And that still makes sense.
Well,
That
that's
makes
still
sense.
cool, but your idea, like what you just said, so I need to, as a leader, I should try to find out. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's a great metaphor. What sort of potato the person I'm talking to likes to eat and become that type of potato.
And it'll be different
'Cause
based
it's
off
infinite.
of every conversation. It'll be different, maybe with the same person. It'll be different throughout the week or throughout the
sure.
month or throughout the year.
Well,
but you're making yourself work for them, and that's a real thing. You're making
Right.
yourself work.
Well, you're adapting
them.
yourself to their taste.
Yeah, whereas-
which means they're the priority.
Managers try to make everyone work for them. They try to make sure that everyone understands their power, their authority, and the pedigree as to why they have what they have. So so everyone else just has to bend to their will, and that is not the best form of leadership. Because how many talented people do managers run right out of a position? Over and over again. You hear people who wind up being great leaders talk about these managers that they worked for at some point in time in this company that they now don't have very much fondness for because of the fact that they were represented by this person who didn't see the talent in them, didn't see the potential in them, and so they left it all behind. And sometimes they started their own company, sometimes they moved on to another one and then grew and were able to blossom and develop. But it all started with this person who couldn't see past his or her nose and just makes people flee from them.
Right. And so you said the humble potato, but what's even funnier is if you use what you just said and take it to another level. So if you're working to adapt yourself to someone else's taste, that puts the emphasis on making sure that they're comfortable and not on your comfort, which you have to be humble to do that.
Yes. Yeah, I think that
where it completely
begins.
emphasizes humility.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've used this example before. You might have to change your leadership style or the way that you treat somebody you might have 5 different interactions in 10 minutes and do 5 different things.
Yeah.
And then the next 10 minutes with those same people, you got to behave a different way
Right.
because of the situation.
Yeah. Yes.
We've said that before. But
And you see it all the time.
yeah, and right, it just happens.
And that's
This is much
the
cooler
good.
now.
Yeah,
It was
hopefully-
already
hope
cool.
it's cool. Hope it's cool. I hope for anyone realistically, a quote like that is one that they can tailor to what they see in it, what they can breathe into it. But additionally, the idea behind my saying it is that in a nutshell.
Well, a great example. So I had a time when I was in an organization. This is when I was in the Army, where I took command and everything was a mess, right? And so my achievement or my goal was we need to get everybody to meet the Army standard, which is not hard except for there's a lot of standards. So to meet all of them suddenly becomes a bunch of work. But you can achieve it because the standards aren't that high.
Okay.
But achieving all of them is complicated. So we got to that point to where everybody was doing an absolutely solid job. They were doing exactly what the standard required, and they wanted a big award for it. And I was going, no, we're doing what we were supposed to do. And I got some people kind of grouchy. And so I went, oh, I need to fix me, because my expectation is now that we've done this, now we can start trying to achieve more. Once we're above the standard, then we'll start doing awards. Then we'll start doing things. But I didn't think that was necessary. I got a lot of feedback about it, spent some time thinking, and then went, I better change that, because you still need to tell people that what they're doing is the right thing. If you don't reward correct behavior, then it won't continue.
Right.
And my thing was, well, I should reward exceptional behavior, not the standard. I mean, it happened where I was working a couple of years ago. Some people come up, hey, I did this thing. And I said, so you did exactly what's expected of you. Right. I said, oh, good job. You get paid today. And they're going, but. And I went, all right, well, hey, excellent job. Very good. Do that again. Do that 5 more times, and we'll see about getting you a prize.
Yeah.
And they didn't. That's the only time they did it that day. So I said, well, there you go. You know what I mean? It's like you're supposed to do that every time.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, one of the times that I can think of where this stood out the most to me and maybe helped me to even kind of lean into this was a position where I had one person who had worked had his career for 40 or 50 years, and now he was doing something that he hadn't really done before, and he was very set in his ways, but everybody previous to me wanted to still force him into the mold. Then there was another person who really wasn't necessarily the best at this job, was working to become a CEO, and that was the focus for him, but he was kind of burned out because everybody kept trying to get him to be more committed to the position he was currently in before he moved on to the next one, and they kind of wanted somebody that was long-term, but he was not going to become.
Yeah.
Then there was another person, part-time, no one really saw a lot of potential in, annoying, stepped on a lot of toes, all of his peers, as well as wasn't necessarily the best when talking to his customers. And then a few others that kind of felt like they had it all figured out, seemed to be superstars. And the people that had worked with them previously couldn't figure out who deserved a certain amount of time, who deserved a certain amount of leeway. They wouldn't give people enough room to grow, but they also didn't give people enough attention to grow. And so I felt like there was just a lacking vision as to what would make that organization meet its best. So I gave more time to the annoying person who didn't seem to have a whole lot of potential. I gave less time to the person who had worked his career for 50 years and really wanted to be hands-off, wanted to be able to just do his thing. Right. I was able to have discussions with the person that wanted to be a CEO about what he was going to be doing next to help him to understand that I cared, so that he worked with me about the things that mattered to me right then and there, even though I knew that those weren't his priorities and they wouldn't matter as much to him as they did to me. I was okay with that. And we had a great rapport, and we still talk to this day. And I think in every single one of those instances and some of the others, I was able to get their buy-in.
Right.
And every single one of those people liked me. I liked them first, but they all wound up liking me. And they wouldn't say that about the people that they worked with prior to me. And they wouldn't say that about the people that they worked with after me, because everyone wanted to force them to have their own vision, to have the same vision as the person that came in. And they all wanted to force them into the mold of everybody's going to do the same thing, the same way, at the same time, and they're going to do it with the same motivation and intensity, which was never going to happen.
Right.
So they were more caviar. I was definitely your average French fry, and I was able to get something out of it. It made the most of a dent.
Well, but I've seen it happen in corporations. I mean, it's happened with somebody I'm really close with right now that I've talked to several times, and she is super smart, super sharp, super competent, has no desire whatsoever to be in charge of people, because she just can't stand it, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't want to deal with the headaches. She doesn't want to deal with all that sort of stuff. Sure. And her boss calls and says, hey, I needed to get your plan for when you want to be in charge. She's like, I don't want to be in charge. Well, it's the only way you're going to get a raise. She says, well, then I don't want the money. It's like, well, but you've been in this position for a couple of years, and if you don't get a raise, then it looks like you're not performing. Like, well, that's not her problem.
That's a bad infrastructure.
That's a bad problem, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, just leave her there and keep giving her a raise.
Yeah.
And she's had other female bosses call her up and try to coerce her into being it. She's like, I don't want to do it.
Is she bad at what she's doing?
No,
So
she's super competent.
Yeah, that's the thing.
She got kept. They did some riffs, and she's the only person that got kept through 3 riffs because of her competence. And they're saying, well, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, that's another thing about a manager too.
That's a manager.
A manager
all
thinks
management.
that everyone needs to follow the same path as them, because a manager thinks
Absolutely.
that everyone is wanting to be them. Everyone
Right.
wants what they have, because their ego is larger than their eyesight, their power of observation.
I used to tell people at the place that I used to work, when I hired them, hey, this might not be your adult job. This might not be your forever job. I will help you with whatever you want to do. You tell me what your goal is outside of here, and I'll help you achieve it.
Yeah.
If it's, we'll get you some college, we'll get you some of this, or you want me to try to put you over here because the real job you want's over there, I just need you to perform while you're here. When you tell somebody that, they work the butt off for you.
Yeah.
Because they realize that you're not, Now, a couple of them changed their mind, said, I really like working here. This is great. It's perfect. Whatever you want.
And they changed their mind because of you, not because of the company.
Not because of the structure.
Which is
I mean,
nice
I
too.
had one guy, it was hilarious. He was a little confused in his life. I love this story. He says, man, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing. And I said, well, how old are you? Well, I'm 28. Well, what are you doing? Well, I got, I'm not married, but I got a kid and I got a girlfriend, and I just feel like I'm spinning my wheels. I said, you know what? Here's a book. Read this book. Tell me what you think, and let me know if there's something that maybe this might inspire you to think differently. So it was his days off. He had 3 days off or whatever. Came back, walked in, said, I'm really sorry. Read the book. I can't work here anymore because I'm not doing anything I'm supposed to do, and I need to fix it. I said, great.
Yeah.
He goes, I thought you didn't want turnover. And I said, I don't, but I also don't want you here now that you realize you're miserable. So let's help you out.
Yeah.
Came back later, asked for a recommendation for another job, gave it to him, did all sorts of stuff. Still in touch.
Yeah.
Why not, right?
Right. Why not? But the reason why not is if you feel like people not wanting the lifestyle that you have, the career that you have, is disrespectful to you or belittling what you have been able to achieve yourself, then you're going to be frustrated every single time someone looks you in the face and says, I don't want what you have.
Right.
It's going to feel like a slap in your face every single time. But if you're open to the fact that we all have different needs and desires to fill fulfilled and successful, then you're going to go, okay, what can I do in order to help you achieve your dream? Oh, you want to be a veterinarian? Great. I'm going to make sure that I give you all the support I can now, and
Right.
I'll be there for you in the future when you're on that path.
Yep.
Oh, you want to be a teacher? Oh, that's fantastic. I feel like my job has a little bit of a teaching element in it, but it's not going to satisfy someone who wants to sit in front of a class of 30 second graders.
Yep.
So I want you to go out and get what you want, and I'm going to help you get there too. But it's a very different mentality than that person that gets offended every single time somebody tells
Right.
them, I don't want to do what you're doing.
Right. Yep. So I wrote down, a leader finds out what type of potato each person prefers, and prepares itself to their tastes.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Sometimes you
No,
gotta,
but that's so cool.
yeah, you gotta give yourself a little different seasoning, or you gotta
Yeah.
cook yourself in a little bit of
Yeah.
a different way.
Yeah.
But one way or the other.
But the caviar thing is amazing because
Yeah.
it's like caviar is its own thing and it serves its own function and it's cool.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and all that sort of stuff.
Caviar is a delicious thing, but because of the fact that caviar is so intense and so specialized, as you've mentioned, if a person really wants to be a great leader, but they want to be that, then they're basically saying that they don't want they don't want to be around their people very much. They want to be that person that keeps their office door closed.
Yep.
They want to be that person that you come to me only when this entire industry is about to burn down and you ask me what I can do for you at that point in time. Otherwise, leave me alone. And I know plenty of people that are that way. And I know that the people that work for them will come and they'll tell me, I am so much happier when I don't see this person's face. Like if I never see them throughout my week, that was a good week.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to be known for that, then great. And maybe you're getting some things done. But unless you're managing a process, I feel like that is that's going to give you diminishing returns.
Well, and then I put down, I don't know why I wrote this, but now I'm thinking about it more. Where I put too much spoils the dish. And then at the end of the rewrite that I did, well, my take on it, I'm not going to rewrite it because what you said was great. Too little may be the right amount. You know, I've said it a whole bunch of times. Well, we need a rule. Why? Well, because I don't like it. So we're going to make a rule because you don't like it or because nobody likes it.
Right.
Well, I don't like it. No, I'm not making a rule.
Not making a rule for one person.
I'm not making a rule for one person. Or, you know, here's blah, blah, blah. Here's all these things. We go through the whole decision-making process and go, you know what? The best decision is we're not going to change anything. Because to achieve what we're trying to get, it's going to take this massive amount of work for a 2% gain.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do it.
Right.
We can try, we'll give it this effort, but we're not going to do it. And a manager will say, processes, we're piling process and I'm making processes and I'm doing, and so then you spoiled everything.
Yeah. There needs to be a process in place for my process so that we can process it.
Well, remember we talked the example of 3 different managers up that want different data sets from the same pool.
Yep.
And they make you fill out all 3 of them instead of one, and then they pick, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And a person with creativity is going to see that as busy work.
Right.
And they're going to lose their interest.
And
very
lose the
quickly.
paperwork. I never did that. Never happened.
Yeah, you did. I can see it.
I had somebody that worked for me once, and she was great. She's another one. She wanted absolutely to be next to the seat of power. She didn't want to be in it. She absolutely wanted to be around. She'd come, here's all of my recommendations for the decision. Great, make a decision. Nope, that's your job. I'm like, oh, well, here you go. Thank you. And I was like, you can do that. I don't want it. I don't want it. And she absolutely said it all the time.
Yeah. It's anxiety inducing to a lot of people, and they're happy to not have to do that.
Right.
And so it's nice when there's somebody that's willing to step up and get that done. If you can find a leader that'll do that.
So anyway, good leader is a self-conscious potato that adapts itself to everybody's tastes.
Gotta be adaptable. Be nimble so that potato can get spiced.
Well, and that's even better.
Yeah.
What am I? I'm just a potato. I'm
That's
just
it.
here doing my thing.
Yeah, if you
Because is a potato the best at anything? No,
Not
but it's nice
necessarily.
to have around.
No, yeah, it's
a
great.
leader. It's the
great
same
to
thing,
have around. Yep.
right?
Yep. People appreciate having them around.
Yep.
And as long as you're humble enough to admit it, you'll be all right.
That's
you're
fantastic.
You're not the greatest thing in anybody's.
What a great quote. I did not pick up on you have to adapt yourself.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, it's true. I just
Be all
never,
things to all people.
yeah,
Be all things to all people.
that's awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Well, cool.
Thank you.
Still jealous, but I read that and I went, what did I text you back? If that's yours, copyright it immediately. Can't copyright a quote.
Yeah, it's out there. It's anybody's. Use it however you want to.
So this is a question that I got asked. We talked about how to identify the talent.
This is good stuff.
Well, we'll see.
This is good stuff.
It's a good idea.
It is.
We'll see. So how to identify the talent? We talked about it for half an hour, I think. How do you know if somebody has the leadership talent? And then somebody that is sort of indirectly my mentor sent the thing saying, haha, you still haven't figured it out. I said, well, do you know? No, I don't know either, but you didn't figure it out either, So, but he's, so I sat there and thought about it, walked in and saw him. I said, hey, I figured it out. He goes, what? So, well, how do you figure out if somebody has the talent? Made the same face that we made last time, both of us. And I said, well, how do you know if an instrumentalist has the talent to play their instrument? He said, I said, well, you have an audition. Oh, yeah. It's so simple, right?
So simple. Mm-hmm. And simple is always good. In these scenarios, right. Simple is always good.
It's like, why couldn't we figure that out sitting here? But here's the thing with an audition. So how do you audition a painter? I don't know. You go and look at, they have a portfolio of their work. Okay. They have what they're, some of the examples of what they've done. Fine. You have a writer. You have some of their examples. Fine. But you have results of what they have done. Still static, right? But how do you audition a musician? Well, an audition for a musician, at least for an orchestra, they usually have to send in a resume that shows their training. So even though somebody has a master's degree from Juilliard in music, they still might not get hired. So if their resume and qualifications look suitable, then they get invited in for an audition, and there's usually 3 rounds of the audition. So there's the first thing where they get excerpts or pieces they're supposed to play. And in America anyway, they're all behind a screen. Now that's not necessarily going to happen with a leader because it has to involve people. But it's behind a screen, so the judges can't even see the person. All they do is hear their performance, which is still awesome. And they make it through 3 rounds and then find out whether or not they have the job. But they have to perform the skill. They have to perform the talent. They have to actually make the music and be able to do that sort of thing. So why not do a leadership audition? Okay, so I took the hotel or the Taj Hotel idea and a little bit out of Starship Troopers, but that's from a guy that was in the military, and came up with some ideas on how to audition leaders. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. We talked about it a minute before because I told him I was going to talk about this, but this is just my ideas. They're not 100% correct, but they're a nightmare for human resources because human resources wants mechanical reasons to fire people or to say they're not suitable, right? We can't tell this person no because there's no paperwork, and the paperwork has to be numbers and processes or we can't fire them. Well, I don't think it's going to work for a leader.
Right.
It just doesn't. I don't think you can do that.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
You can't.
So here's my ideas for the audition, and please interrupt when you feel like I'm saying something stupid. So audition. So you get a resume, obviously, recommendations, of course, and an interview. But the interview is not, tell me about your numbers. That's a manager. The interview is, let's talk about scenarios. And it can be scenarios that have happened in your company. Of course, HR won't like that either, but you just change the names to protect the innocent. What do you do if you have somebody that you suspected stole cash from the nightly count? What do you do? And they're the best producer in the store. or they're the best person, they're the number one, top, number two in the whole company, blah, 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 and you suspect that they stole money. What do you do? And then you listen to the answer, right? What do you do if you have somebody that's got some catastrophic family thing? And if their answers are, well, here's this and here's this, and make up a complicated situation. That's how you can tell if somebody's thinking more about the people than they are a number, right? And then if they're new, like if they're new to your company, or if they're a brand new leader, like somebody just out of college, or somebody who you might suspect has the ability, then you send them to some training, but the training is not numbers. The training is not the business. The training is none of that. It's history, historical examples of different leaders, leadership examples, philosophy, psychology, and humanities. Because being a leader is 100% on chaos and strange and human beings. One human being is complicated. You and another human being is complicated. And then I don't even know if it's logarithmic or linear. You start adding people, the complications go through the roof, right? So somebody that's a manager is going to be, trying to put those people into a linear equation. And I don't think it works.
It's not linear.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would definitely say that you're going to have factors of additional complications the minute that you put that more than two people together. So you have to expect that it's going to be outside of the bounds of a metric.
Right. And like I said, that's the problem, is that everybody's all worked up about metrics, but this can't be metrics. Okay, so then they make it through that process. So you've got maybe some training, you've got the process of getting them in there, and then you're going to have to observe them doing stuff. But the observation can't be 2 hours, because you can fake 2 hours. Not different than a musician, because a musician, you can't fake it. It's there, right?
Yeah.
But the observation period, which like we talked about in Starship Troopers, and they do at the Taj Hotel in India, 3 to 6 months. You get put on a team with a leader in there already, and then you're sort of the person with no power that is auditioning to do this sort of stuff, and then you get observed. And you get observed for the characteristics. Now, I've been working on this thing because I've seen a couple times people talk about character in a leader, but they don't describe the characteristics, right? Because you've heard me say this before, right?
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy is a character, right? Well,
Yeah.
what sort of character? No, he's crazy. Well, no, okay, is that the character we want in a leader? So I've talked about maybe the 4 pillars of character, or the 4 leadership pillars of character, 4 leadership characteristics, the 4 essential characteristics. So that's humility, integrity, empathy, and vigilance. So you observe them for that. You as the person that's working with them, or the person that's doing the hiring. And then you observe for the talent. Are they able to creatively solve problems? Are they able to, they're sitting down and one day, let's say that I'm evaluating, or you're evaluating me, and I come in and you say, okay, here's a situation that we have. Here's what's going on. What are you going to do? And then I say, well, here's the solution. And you go, oh, that's pretty good. Let's see. And if it's not going to cause some catastrophic problem, you go implement it, see if it works. Maybe it does. But that's the talent, because you don't know. The problem is you can't prescribe scenarios, because then somebody will put them on the internet. And then, I know the answer.
Right. Yep.
But then here's the problem, because this doesn't happen, right? You have to be observed by 3 levels up of leadership. Because I might miss something, or if he's evaluating me, he might miss something. So his boss comes down, he or she might go, don't get it, I'm not sure. That boss might go, not get. Because what happens if we actually had leadership at every level, they're going to take a vested interest in making sure that we're identifying people that have leadership ability. And the more senior they are, the more experience they've got with it, the more their instincts are tuned up or whatever. And that's fine. But they got to come watch. Maybe they go up and spend a day with them, or that leader comes down and spends a day with them, or a couple hours or something.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That one right there, the observation period,
Man, sorry.
when you add into it the the beginning of the audition and the training, now you've got a large investment.
Right.
You've got somebody that you're keeping around for 90 or 180 days. And so the investment is large. So at this point in time, the question would become, how many people do you bring on for
Right.
an audition at once, right? And it would have to be different based off of the enterprise and the size of that enterprise. Obviously that's a massive hotel in comparison to your average hotel.
Sure.
But if we're talking
Well,
about
it's actually that hotel, and there's like 3 or 4 under that group.
Yeah.
But it's the same process for all of them. I'm
Sure.
sorry, I didn't mean that.
And when we're talking about that size of a hotel compared to your average one, it's on another scale.
Right.
But if we're talking about that hotel grouping compared to a corporation in America that may have 120,000 employees, then the scale again is very different. So how do you make sure that the investment pays off so that you're not starting from scratch at the end of 90 days or 180 days, so that it doesn't feel like you set yourself back by trying to do things the right way, which I feel like this audition is the right way. But then how do you make sure that it's not an investment that crashes and burns?
Right. Well, and so there's 2 things. So it's funny because I was about ready to say the problem is 3 to 6 months. How much is that cost versus the cost of putting a bad leader in charge? Mm-hmm. What's the difference in cost? So it's funny that you said investment, because that's what I was getting ready to say next. But true. The other thing I forgot is that part of the audition process should be the personality test, a personality test. I like the one for the Big Five. I'm doing some other research for another part of this project, and several times they've talked about openness to experience and high intellect, which are what I talked about in the solution chapter, I think. But that's another thing. So maybe before, maybe you get to this point and there's a cut. So you do the audition is one, but this is what happens at the Taj Hotel too, right? So there's one at the audition. Then if you want to put them through your leadership class for a week or 2 where they have to think, the problem with that is, I was thinking about that too. What happened with you and this quote? You and I have been talking a little bit about this for 2.5 years, maybe 3, I forget. And then we've had 2 discussions, and finally this pops into your head.
Yeah.
So what if in a week somebody's brain just doesn't put it all together?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But they still need the exposure.
They do.
It
would have to.
Right.
To happen.
But maybe after the week, or you make it 2 weeks, whatever, because then you get to see. I mean, you can even tell in a meeting who's a leader and who's not.
True.
The person that's sitting in the corner that's the whole time and doesn't answer any questions. I need to hear what your brain's thinking. So you'll know. So that's another cut, and then this is another cut. But still, how many? I don't know. This is the problem. This is the idea, but it's going to have to scale based off of your business.
I mean, what if a rough framework? It has to be a rough framework.
But
right?
but what if? I mean, I was joking around. What if there's? See, because it's just so hard, because you just don't know if that's going to. If the person's really a potato, then you can take a leader from anywhere and put them in your organization. They're not going to be the best at everything,
right?
But they're going to be the best at handling the people. But it's almost like, if something happened at college or something that, there was some leadership school that somebody could go to and say, hey, if you want to, here's some places that I've been where you can talk to them, but you still have to do the evaluation. That's the observation part. But the problem is, I think that's the only way that you can tell if they've got it.
I think it's highly important. I think you do have to make sure that.
But then the other part that you talked about, so you've had this big investment. Well, the thing that I also thought to offset that would be, what if when you're hiring them, you see, hey, here's somewhere else they can fit in the company if this doesn't work out. And so then they don't make it. You go, well, great. We're going to have somebody who's going to do management over here. We're fine.
That helps alleviate the risk.
That helps
alleviate the risk for sure.
So it's a company of 100 people. How do you do this?
Right.
but still, it still would be, hey, I'm bringing you on, and you're going to shadow me because I'm the CEO. I'm the boss, and I got 100 people, and you're going to hang around with me, and we'll see what happens.
The companies that would have the worst infrastructure to be able to accomplish this would be the small companies.
Right.
But the companies that have the worst problems with being able to hire, to find first, and then hire, and then develop the proper talent for leadership roles would be the larger ones that have more distance between the superiors and the subordinates, right. And have the remote issues where the people highest up are going to be headquartered in a completely different state, thousands of miles away potentially from the people that are going to report to them. So I think that this is still tailored best for the enterprises that need it most,
right?
As opposed to the small businesses might be able to take pieces of this, not be able to implement it completely, but they're not the ones that suffer from the most stress on this issue.
Right, and then maybe we figure out like we're going to solve the planet, but maybe they have a much different interview that's all scenario based, and it takes a half a day, or it's a whole day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, here's a problem. Let's talk about it. Hey, here's a problem. So the investment's a day, not a couple of weeks.
So the scale has a time component.
Right.
So yeah, it's not just going to be about the size of what this is, but based off of the chronology as to how this takes place. It doesn't have to be 3 to 6 months if it's a small business. It could potentially be a couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Right. Because you'll know right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because there's much more FaceTime. There's much more one-on-one time. It would work.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I agree completely.
Yeah.
I mean, so let's think about well, I don't know, because it's, I mean, obviously we've learned with this past year that you can meet online all the time, but but even then, if you're spread all over the place, the person three layers up should still find time to make a phone call or do a video call.
Yeah.
Just to say, hey, because it could even be this, hey, I hear you're doing great. Let me give you this problem. And they come up with some problem that they had to deal with 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. Here's this. What do you think? Let's talk about that one.
Yeah.
And it's a half a day discussion. You can tell if somebody's faking it or not then. And then my favorite is when I hear somebody giving pat answers, is you just ask why about twice, and you can tell if they've thought about it or not.
Yeah. That's true.
Why? Because this. Why? Well, because of the exceptional, overwhelming. Why?
Got you on your heels.
You don't even know. Yeah. Ask him, how do you feel about potatoes? You want me to think of myself as a potato? You're gone.
Yeah, get out.
But so some sort of interaction.
Yes.
And 3 to 6 months. Compressed, compressed. That's good. I like that. Compressed on the scale of the business. Because if you're all face to face, like you said, you're going to know right away.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so then there's the observation part. But then the last part, and this should be everybody. This is easy for everybody to do. You should all change your evaluation systems right now to it, and you'll see a difference. Believe me. I'm more convinced about this than anything else.
And you should be, because
the last part.
Because you call it effective and honest.
Yeah.
But those are the two most important things. It has to be effective and honest.
Effective and honest evaluations afterwards. Mm-hmm. So integrity. If you have leaders at every level, they're going to have integrity, humility, empathy, and vigilance, and the talent. So these are the 4 questions that should be on your evaluation. It should have nothing to do with money. It should have nothing to do with, you're fired. Have nothing to do with money. Nothing to do with numbers. Well, the numbers can be, turnover, some way to measure morale, the number of hours people call out. Those are all things that you can use to detect the morale of your organization. Theft, any sort of trouble that people are getting in and out of work, a little bit different. But here's a question that should be on the evaluation. Should this person continue to be in leadership positions? And it should be the 3 layers up again, right? Even though you might not see that boss all the time, if they're paying attention, they're going to ask, how's so-and-so doing? How's it been? What's going on down there? What's the situation? And if a leader at every level is honest, they're going to say, "Got a problem," or they're not. And then you ask the peers, "Hey, what do you think of this person? Should they stay in charge, or should they get a break?" And then you ask the employees. And here's the 3 questions you ask the employees. I put this in my solution thing before. Should this person get a raise based off of their leadership? Now, obviously, you're going to have a few bitter people that say no. But, 75, 80% of the team says, yeah, they've been great. Yeah, we love them. Give them a raise.
You ask enough people to make that work.
Right. Yeah, you get the number right. But it's, you're going to have angry people.
Mm-hmm.
Place that I used to work, they complained every year about not getting enough money, even though they got a pay raise every year. And then they got a big pay raise, still complain about money.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's not my problem. Should this person get a bonus based off of their leadership ability? Yes or no? Or like, no, a pay raise is fine. And then, would you voluntarily work for this person in another region or department in the company if they move there? Would you voluntarily follow them to that part of the company? And if you get 90% of the people say no way, then then there's something going wrong, right? There's another way to think about this. I'm trying to think, because the thing that I hate, I worked at a company that used to do a survey every year that was a sensing session for the team. And I would hear people say, "Hey, the survey's coming up. Need everybody to answer because, it's a big deal," and it should be the last thing that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do this all the time for it to be genuine, because if it's not genuine, then nobody's going to support it.
Mm-hmm. And when they do answer, their answers are going to be slanted based off of a bitterness.
Do it.
yeah, a frustration, a bitterness, or whatever they may else be feeling. So.
And then the last question I put down is, what are the repercussions if the person's not deemed suitable? So that's what we talked about.
That's a big question.
Try to find somewhere else in the company for them, because clearly they made it through all of this stuff. They know the culture. They know what's going on in the company. They know all this sort of stuff that, you've invested a bunch of time.
Mm-hmm. And the critical thing there would be, if you're looking to put them in another position, one, are they going to accept that? Are they going to accept that change in their path? Then obviously, in a realistic situation, you have to figure that money is going to be a question. Will you be paying them as much for whatever they may wind up doing as you would have if they had been able to pass the full audition and get the role that they said that they were qualified for? And so these are some of the things right away that I think have to...
Right, you got to figure that out.
They're going to come up, because you're not... If you get 3 to 6 months in and you're going to offer someone something that they're not going to take, it's no different than just letting them go.
Well,
because in the end,
tell them at the beginning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You say that at the beginning. Look, we've hired you. You've told us this. We've done some things. We're going to put you in our leadership training. If you don't make it, here's your other option. Will you be willing to do that? And maybe they sign something saying that.
Mm-hmm. And then comes the honesty, because people sometimes will say that they'll do whatever in order to, because they think they're going to be outstanding and they think they're going to be able to pass the audition.
Right.
And if they don't, they may rethink that initial decision. But that comes down to their honesty.
Right. Mm-hmm. Or you say, you got to pay us back for the 6 months. Whoa, hold on now. Oh, that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
Well, here's something else, right, that I talked about. So that's another thing. And of course, this is an HR nightmare because you couldn't fix it, but I believe it to be true. If you said, look, here's, the pay is not significantly greater if you're in a leadership position. The difference, though, because part of that other research I'm doing, you'll get to see it. It's about some military stuff. But the thing that I say is you don't get paid anymore. But what happens is you get 3, maybe 4 years in charge. 3 to me seems like the sweet spot, because you go in, make all your changes, get to tweak it, and then you get to enjoy all your work for the third year, right? You're like, hey, everything's just the way I want it. Like I said, maybe 4, maybe 5, but it seems like if you're going to have somebody doing leadership a lot, and then you give them a sabbatical. So, hey, here's 3 months, paid vacation. Goodbye. Call me at the end of this month, and this month. Here's a couple of books I would like you to read to develop you some more. And maybe write me a paper or write something down about some thoughts that you had, because then you get to take a break. You don't have to worry about working, and you get to go think about what you did for 3 years. Hey, here's some stuff that didn't work. Man, I remember this, because when you make a bad decision, when you goofed up, when you made the wrong call. So then you get to think about it. Why did I do that? What happened? What's this and what's that? And then say, okay, come back. We're going to put you back in charge. You're going to be in charge of this team over here. Here's what we know about them. You get a month to read up on that, and then go be in charge again. Because if you care, and Mr. Getting some gray hair, that if you care about being in charge, it takes a lot out of you.
It does.
If you're a leader that genuinely is doing things the right way, it will wear you out. So you give somebody 3 months, that's about enough time for them to take a break, relax. So that's the pay increase that they get, is 3 months of paid vacation. You know what I mean? And maybe they get called up to corporate one day. Hey, on this day, we're going to have a meeting on all the guys that are on sabbatical, and we're going to talk about what you've learned.
Yeah.
And so then all these guys come in. They're not thinking about numbers. They're not thinking about what's going on at the company. They're not thinking, hey, here's what I've been working on, blah, blah, blah. What do you guys think about that? And then and somebody's there writing stuff down. The big bosses are there listening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How amazing would that be? But I'm thinking that you don't need, because look, I think I talked about it before. It's a company, and I'm not begrudging anybody making lots of money. But, well, not but, and. There's a company, this was last year. The CEO was making $40 million a year. And most of the people doing the work were making minimum wage.
Yeah.
And they were doing hard work. What is that person providing that's worth $40 million?
Right.
I don't know. You give them $10 million, and the other 30 could go to giving everybody a pay raise.
And it made sense when we talked about that.
We talked about it before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, maybe because what happens if you make the leadership roles the highest paid roles, then people that want money are going to try to go there. But if you make the leadership role, hey, you're going to get to be in charge, you're going to get some time to think, you're going to get through this, you're only getting paid 5 or 10% more than the managers, still will give you a little bit more because it does suck, then you're not going to attract people that are grubbing for money. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people, they're like, man, I don't want a leadership job, but it's the only way I can get more money, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was
my question that I would like to, if we get a chance to break that down, my questions that come from that, because I like that. One, a question that I have for you: when that person comes back from sabbatical, do they continue in the?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
but
everything
maybe not in
continues as it was?
maybe not in that role.
Yeah.
In other words, they get another store, they get another department, they
CEOs
get another
and things as well.
Yeah, same idea. Well, a CEO, if they're the only one, you should go find another job. But within a big company,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The idea would be you come back, and you get to, you're going to go do something somewhere else, another thing, another deal, whatever it is, but you've had a break.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, as far as the CEO goes, different. I mean, CEO just go take a big vacation. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. Vice presidents and CEOs.
Yeah. Well,
and things
vice
like
president,
that.
same idea. Hey, once you get up to that level, if you're doing it right, you're going to need the break, or you start becoming bitter, or you become complacent, or you become, remember I told you the last place that I worked, I walked in one day and was like, I could not come to work and nobody would notice.
Yeah.
I'm not that type of person, but all of a sudden I thought that and realized it and said, it's time for me to go.
Yeah.
Because that's going to get tempting at some point, I
Yeah.
walk in and see this big melee at the front. Oh, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with this. You know.
So
But that's
question
it's an idea.
during
I
the
don't know.
sabbatical,
Yeah.
who fills in? Who's
Well,
doing the job of that
so
person
you've
during
got
those
so
3
you've
months?
got you've got people that are like I said. So you're let's say that you're here. You're in your location X. You leave to go do your sabbatical. Somebody takes over X. You're going to go take over Y. You're never going back.
Okay.
Right. So
Yeah.
so then somebody else is there, and so you end up with this
Who's in
rotation.
Y at that point in time? Or you just
Somebody's
you
leaving.
basically
You've
just
got to
have
start
it set up,
rotation. Yeah, you have it set
everyone's-
up so that you're rotating out. Here comes the person that's been on break.
Got it. And so then who would be doing whatever needs to be done at X? So if the person from Y is going to rotate into X, let's say, for instance, then this person
Well,
goes on a
you'd
sabbatical.
have to do it. That's ask a manager. I don't know. But no.
Okay.
So
all right.
let's say
Yeah.
you've got. Here's an example because I got to do the numbers in my head, which is probably going to be wrong. So you've got 10 units, and you've got 13 leaders.
Yep.
So then you're going to have, or maybe you've got 15. I don't know what the number works at, but then you've got, all these guys are on break. These people are filling in, and it works so that somebody's leaving, somebody's taking over, or they're going up. Maybe they'll go to another higher department. Maybe they go to the next territory. Maybe they're groomed for hire.
Okay.
Maybe somebody says that.
Yeah.
I don't know. And the other thing I don't know is what level it is. I just know that I saw it in the Army that there were guys and 2 women that I worked with that were so good at being in charge that that's all they should have done their whole life. They were it was like breathing, And so what you do to keep them from getting burnt out, give them a break and then give them another unit.
Yeah.
But that's all they do. And then you don't go spend a bunch of time because, I was one of the examples of, you want to kill my spirit, put me in a job where all I have to do, all I can do is paperwork. I was the worst at that. I was
Same.
the worst. I volunteered for war to get out of a job like that twice.
Okay.
I went to
that's
combat.
extreme.
I
That's
went to
extreme.
combat to get out of that sort of a job.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
But I'm not saying that I'm an excellent leader. But it was like if they had done that with me, I would still be in the Army. Because I was the best at taking over, taking over, running an organization, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But what you do need is time to think. Maybe it's not. Maybe you do 4 years and you just get a 2-month break and wear out your assistant. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's the evaluation time for the other guy.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
That can make a lot of sense too.
Something.
So yeah,
But-
something
but-
along those lines
But
makes
something
sense
to say,
to give time for introspection, for development, growth,
right?
the
And
things
say,
that
look,
would
you're
come from
just
that.
gonna
Yeah.
you're just gonna lead, and
Yeah.
maybe you come to a point, and this is part of the honest thing. Maybe you're sitting down for your evaluation. You've been in charge. You've been going through this, and it's 10 years in, and you say, you know what, I'm tapping out.
Yep.
I don't want to do that anymore because it's starting to wear on my soul.
Yeah.
Okay, well, great. Thanks for your service. Let's move you over here somewhere. Let's put you somewhere you're going to be happy. But if you're a natural leader, it's only going to last a little while. You're going to start going crazy.
Yeah.
one back in the game. But that's what honest is, and that goes back to your thing about following the path.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody does it and they're great, and then they come out and say, I don't want anything to do with that anymore. I don't want anything to do with it anymore.
Yep.
It was fun, but I don't want to, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. But that's something at the end.
Sure.
That's completely an add-on to that.
So the thing that I would like to go over with you, obviously not this time. I think we've spent a good amount of time talking about two very cool subjects. But I would love to talk with you about if the reward for leadership is similar to the reward for any other position. Will you miss out on some of your more talented people? Because yes, I agree with the component that there will be some people who go after leadership roles undeservedly only for the financial gain. But are there good leaders who are very motivated by it as well? Because I've had some very good CEOs that I've worked for, and I don't know if there wasn't enough difference from their position to the one below theirs if they would have been willing to go through the stress as the face of a company, that the representative that everyone knows and complains against if things don't work. Would a person in general be willing to take all of that on for less financial gain? So again, something, if
Well, and
more
so
future tense
this
that I
is
want to
something,
talk about.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I'll put that down. But I thought about that a little bit too, and maybe once again, their bonus structure is completely different.
I want to hear that. I want to
Well,
hear about that.
it was real easy. Everything that has to do with people is what they bonus off of. So if their turnover is low, big bonus. If their morale is low, big bonus. You know what I mean?
Morale,
So it's
yeah,
like if
keep
you're
it up.
taking care of your people,
Yeah.
if you're treating them right, if you're doing this, if whatever, you get your recommendations in here. 95% of your team recommends that you get a bonus or something, and the bonus is hefty
So more heavily weighted on the bonus than
on
on the wages.
performance. Right. Yeah. And so it's like, but here's what you have to do. Now, the problem with that is that becomes numbers. But every leader gets the same type of bonus unless they're the absolute best. So if they make whatever it requires for these personnel numbers, then they get X bonus. It's just guaranteed. It's not some sliding scale, and it could be significant. So, hey, your base. I'm just going to use small numbers so everybody can get their head around them. So, your managers are getting paid 80K and you're getting paid 100. So it's a little bit more, not a ton more, right? You can live off of 80K. But if you get these, your bonus potential is $140,000.
Yeah. And what would it be for the people that were below?
Well, so their numbers, whatever you can still give them, but they're on productivity numbers, not losing crap, blah, 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 blah. They still get bonuses.
But
right?
would it be the same size bonus, or would there be a difference between one to the
I
other?
don't know. I don't know. What can you afford? We got to talk to the financial person about that.
All right, let's get that. Let's get the person in there. Where
But
is
it's,
that
but
person?
it's still,
Uh-huh.
but it's still, because, but the bonus. Here's the thing: you should bonus in proportion to the impact of whatever metric that is. So if you really care about your people and somebody's taking care of your people, they get a bunch of money for taking care of the people. And then, taking care of the store, taking care of the equipment, making sure that you make your financial targets, whatever that is, you get 10%, 15%, whatever. You can get up in the six figures. But the bonuses for leadership should be all people based, which means that you're going to put people in there that are, people in those positions that are people based. And then you're going to have people results. I think we can talk about it more.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I-
I'd love to dig into that even more.
It's the 2-tier thing, because you need managers and you need them to perform well too.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just think that the leaders should bonus more on people stuff.
And I agree. I think it has to be, but anything that you make about people can lose the spirit of it pretty quickly, especially when it's tied to an outcome, a financial outcome.
Right.
So yeah, that's an important one though. I like talking about that. That's going to be big.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I mean, this is the problem. Clearly, I'm running a massive company. Oh, did I tell you I made another $1.20?
Wow.
Last month.
Oh, good
I'll
job.
Give you a can of Coke.
Yeah, all right. Thanks. You always taking care of me.
Your pay.
That's my bonus.
Your
That's
pay
my
is
bonus.
10% of my 10% of my gross. Actually, no, that's like a little sip out of it. Here's 2 shots of Coke. There's your thing. But no, that's the problem. But it just seems to me that that's what needs to get restructured. If you care about people, but that's the other thing. That's where this evaluation says. Well, we should talk about it. We're going
To be
get
continued.
Yeah.
We're gonna want to get into that one. That one's got a lot of depth.
Well, yeah, and would it work? I don't know. It just seems like it would. I mean, I think it would for me.
We can definitely come up with something that would sound like it would work.
We can talk, that's for sure. So, yeah, because then you should bonus people based off of what you expect them to perform at. And so, if you're going to have a systems person, then and the system works this way, then you bonus the person on how the system worked.
Yeah.
If you want somebody who's going to be a people person and in charge, then you need to bonus them off of the people stuff.
Yes. Agreed.
And then maybe you get another little one if everybody does a good job. You know what I mean? And, but the way that I'm looking at it as an annual thing, not a quarterly thing.
Hmm.
So you can't fake it for a year, right?
Yeah.
You can't bribe your whole team not to quit for a year.
Right. Yeah.
You know
That's
what I'm
true.
saying?
It's very true.
You gotta, but that's the problem too. Is then if you get a bunch of great leaders, yeah. See, this guy has lots of layers. Because let's say that everybody achieves your personnel goals for the year. You know, did you budget for that?
Right. Yeah. If you're a publicly held company, are you going to be able to take that to Wall Street and explain that one?
Well,
yeah.
or you do, and then it doesn't hammer you. But you know, you say, here's what we're setting aside because we care about people. Here's what we want from our people. Here's what we're expecting. Yada yada yada. Okay, let me write that down. Let me make sure I write this question right. So, reward for leadership versus management.
Yeah. Does it require a
Bonus
large sum of
structure.
money to attract the best talent in leadership? If you don't offer it, do you miss out on some of the more talented people that are out there? And would a person be willing to go through the stress and difficulty that leadership entails without there being a significant difference from one position to theirs, from the one below theirs to theirs? Would they
Yeah,
be
I
willing
don't know.
to?
I mean, I think yes, but I have no idea why. But maybe it's just me thinking that I'm that person.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be thinking about it between now and the next time we get to sit down, and let's see what you come up with.
Man,
That's
this
good.
was good.
Yeah.
This quote. I'm really glad that we talked about
I appreciate the fact that we got a chance to talk about that.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, I really did.
Well, I like the idea of the audition too. So I think that was a good thing to be able to break
Yeah,
down.
and
yeah.
Whatever. Okay. Thank you very much for your time as always. Like I said, I really appreciate the fact that you're spending the time to stick with us through all this sort of stuff because as you can tell, we don't know what we're talking about. But we're passionate about it, so it makes...
Very passionate about some stuff that I don't understand.
Don't know how any of this works, but we care a lot. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day. And as always, if you haven't, please go back and watch the original Leadership as a Philosophy playlist because that's the baseline for what we're talking about now. He and I talked about it several times beforehand, little pieces of it. But then that gives you an understanding of where I'm coming from or where we're coming from on a lot of this stuff. So that's all that we have for now. So thanks so much and have a great day.